Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you better make the most of it.
Damn tootin'.
Let's get on with the show. Well, Uncle Dan.
Yes, sir.
We have arrived at yet another show.
Yes, indeed. And weird things approacheth as we do this show.
Yeah, this is a weird one. This is a weird one this week, I think. It's good.
Yeah, I like it. You're gonna introduce us to a god long gone.
Long gone. He's a weird one, and if you like white geese flying forever, he's your guy.
Indeed. And then you're also going to teach us how to get a get out of jail free card.
Yeah, if you'll indulge me, we'll learn a little bit about a new word that's an old word.
Yes, indeed.
And then you are going to ruin our Saturday by making us meet a bunch of new crazy people.
Yeah, it's a meet of people that we can actually go down the street and meet if you're unfortunate enough to live near some. That's just mean. They're probably fine, I'm sure.
They're probably fine people. They just are wasting a lot of their time.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
So and just a quick note that we had to kind of bank some segments this week because Dan's on the road. So that makes us both on the road and is a little too much for us to contend with. So there won't be patrons in this episode, but boy, we will make it up to you next week.
Right. So we encourage everyone to go out there and be patrons of the show so that we have so much extra that we have to deal with next week that we're just overwhelmed with the deluge.
But see if you can break us. That's what we're asking. See if you can break our backs with too much money love.
We'll make it worth your while. I promise.
We sure will.
Let's do the show.
All right, let's get on with the show.
Uncle Mark.
Here I am.
There's a graveyard that you and I like to pluck from.
There is a we are notorious grave robbers.
We are the graveyard of the gods. Those immortal beings out there who we then find out are dead.
Yeah.
And dig them up and talk about them. We've brought along Uncle Doug for this adventure.
What's up, heretics?
And you've got somebody that you've dug up for us. Is that so?
Well, that's right. And you know, you're right. The graveyard is full of so many immortal characters who have died from a condition called Tinkerbellus no clappamus. So essentially, you know, when people stop clapping for these gods, they just went. So
that does seem to be what happens. Yes,
and that's, believe me, I'm sure the Romans once thought that Zeus was never going to, Jupiter was never going to go away, just like the Greeks before them thought Zeus was never going to go away. So
and on and on and on.
If you're straining under too many centuries of Yahweh, don't worry. Nothing's forever. Especially us, but the gods eventually time out as well. So it's always fun to kind of poke around anthropologically and see gods that are so forgotten that fairly educated fellers like us have never even heard of them, and not even really of the people that revered them.
Wow, we're going deep.
We're
deep
going
cuts.
Deep. And I think, you know, Doug brought up Deus Pater a while ago that we think was the name of a god from the what was it, Doug? The
Proto-Indo-European religion.
That's right. A thing that we didn't know existed and people we didn't know that were. So this is kind of a similar resurrection, or I guess we can call it an excavation. So this god is called Gok Tengri.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sounds like an Indian dish.
And he is not the god of the Klingons, as you probably assumed, but damn close. So Gok Tengri is the sky god and creator of the nomadic Gokturks. Yeah, remember them? So the Gökturks were a nomadic group that included Mongols, the pre-Turkic people, and what would eventually become the peoples of Hungary and Bulgaria and that sort of region. So their expanse stretched all the way from northern China all the way to the Black Sea, covering the entire Russian steppe.
Wow!
So it was massive. So these guys were kind of they were there before the Mongolian advance from the east into Europe, right?
These were pre-Huns.
They were even pre-Hunnish, I believe, and they are also kind of the ancestors of a lot of what are now called the Tartar people, spread throughout Central Asia and East Asia, and even into Europe. So, Gökturk means celestial Turks, or sometimes blue Turks. And they think they took that name for themselves because blue was the celestial color, so they're like the celestial Turks.
Everybody loves to think of themselves as the celestialist of the Turks.
I'm certain there is a prog rock band called Celestial Turks.
Well, and of course we know that because of their failure to embrace the light of Christ, they are telestial Turks. But that's a discussion for another time.
One person laughed.
One crisis at a time. So
yeah.
They're and they are kind of quite old. The oldest reference to the name comes from the 4th century BC in China. So, Göktengri was the national god of the Gökturks, described as the god of the Turks. The Göktürk Khans based their power on a mandate from Tengri, and the rulers assumed the title of the sons of Tengri and represented him on earth, chiefly worshipped by the ruling class of these Asian steppe people from about the 6th to the 9th centuries BC.
I think CE is the nomenclature that we can
CE
go with.
is the preferred nomenclature. Sorry, my notes were a little fucky right there. So it then, it kind of fell out of importance when the Ugaritic Khaguns proclaimed Manichaeism the state religion in the 8th century. So I think another time we need to take a really deep dive into Manichaeism, which is a fascinating belief system.
I'm 90% sure you're getting most of this from Star Trek Next Generation. I'm like,
really? Manichaeism? Oh, it's fast.
You're getting really close.
That kind of came out of the Iranian area and moved east. So
if he drops in a warp core bubble, we'll know that it's bullshit.
So, the worship of Göktengri was brought all the way into Eastern Europe by these guys. He's considered the chief god who created all things. In addition to this celestial god, they also had minor divinities called Alps. I tried to look up if that's where the name of the mountains come from, because that could possibly be, but I could not find an answer to that. So the Alps served the Tengri, which are those gods. As Göktanri, he was the father of the sun, was Koyash, as you know, and the moon, Aitanri, and a bunch of other people. It doesn't really matter.
So
But
he
as-
created everything, and then we have
Yeah.
to delineate the other things that he also created.
Which is really typical. It's that kind of reductive thinking that Christians always get tangled up in their own dicks about, when it's like, well, who made God, right?
Yeah.
And to which we say, yeah, what's the answer to that?
Correct.
So anyway, he was the main god of the Turkic pantheon, controlling the celestial sphere. And interestingly, to the Dias Peter conversation, he's considered to be strikingly similar to the Indo-European sky god Deus Pater, and the Gökturk pantheon seems to follow a very similar structure. So probably these fellers ran into each other out there somewhere, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
They're closer to each other than they are to any of the Near Eastern or East Mediterranean ancient civilizations. So they
interesting.
probably were in contact. So the most important contemporary testimony of Tengri is on these cool columns that were found, stone columns standing in a valley in Mongolia, called the Orkhon inscriptions, dated to the 8th century, written in the so-called Orkhon script, which my fluency is not excellent in, but I did my best.
I took a couple years in high school.
Yeah.
A couple of years of Orkhon. Again, very Star Trek. So they account for, this is an account of the mythological origin of the Turks. and it is dedicated to Kultigin and includes the passages, "When the blue sky, Tengri, above, and the brown earth below were created, between them a human being was created. Over the human beings, my ancestors Bumen Kegan and Istemi Kegan ruled. They ruled people by Turkish laws. They led them and succeeded. Tengri creates death. Human beings have all been created in order to die. You passed away until Tengri gives you life again." Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems kind of a dick move, frankly.
Right. It kind of goes beyond, we're all born and then we all die. It's like, no, you were made just so you could fucking die.
Yeah, the whole reason you were made was that, like, yeah, maybe you fuck around for a little bit, but really you're made so that you die.
Yeah, it's a little fatalistic. So,
Well, and it's also true.
that we're all made.
We're all going to die.
We
Well,
are
it
all
in-
going to die.
It infers intent, though, right?
Yeah.
Where there wasn't intent.
I think a lot of people have kids just so they die.
I feel
Just
like
to
this.
watch 'em die
I feel
in
like this
Reno.
Gok guy like made us all like we are the flies from whom he plucks the wings, sort of thing. That's what it feels like to me.
Well, I know it kind of sounds like that on the inscription, but then it seems like he's a little bit more paternal than that. So then this is kind of a cool thing. In their Turkic mythology, Tengri is represented as a pure white goose that flies constantly over an endless expanse of water, which represents time. So I thought that's kind of cool. That's
that's
an
kinda cool.
interesting concept. And the Göktürk religion is the only one I'm aware of with a specific god for time. Like that's its only responsibility or realm, right, is time.
Interesting.
That's true. I've never heard of another god of time.
Well, it turns out Kali, the Hindu god, time is one of the things that she represents or has dominion over. But she's got like 900 other jobs.
right.
So
Sure.
this guy called Ogog is, which you all know, is this god singularly of time. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
But it makes sense if you're the god of time that you would have a lot of things to do because you have time. You could take on a lot because you can manipulate time.
It does make one wonder if there's like a brand of watches in Turkey called Ogogog watches. Or something.
Probably, or in Kazakhstan.
Right.
So beneath the water that he flies over is Ak-Ana, the white mother, who called out to him saying, "Create." And to overcome his loneliness, he created Irkishi, who is another goose who, for some reason, is not as pure white as he is. But together they set up the world. And then Irkishi became a demon that strives to mislead people and drag them away into some kind of darkness. So Tengri then he went to heaven and created mythical, beautiful animals to pepper the world with in an attempt to guide human beings. I don't know how that's worked out so far. So, like it said earlier, when the Uyghur cultures became dominant, and the Uyghurs, what remains of the Uyghur culture is essentially the Uyghurs in China. So
Right.
Chinese Muslims, but they kind of overran. It was a highly overrun area. I think because it's so flat, it's easy to run over.
Get some
I
momentum
guess.
going and you just roll over everybody.
It's an inertia-based cultural situation. So it's hard to stop until you get to the Urals. So anyway, his belief was kind of overrun by the Ugaric people. So he's basically dead, except in the Central Asian, post-Soviet republics like Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan. There's been a push, even though those are largely Muslim places. There's been a push to restore kind of a pre-Soviet cultural and ethnic identity, and they're actually taking another look at Gok Tengri. So, which I found really fascinating. So, there's a thing called Tengrism, which is they're reviving it as a Central Asian shamanism. So it's kind of a mystic belief and an attempt to reclaim something after the Soviet occupation, which just kind of scorched out every sort of belief and folk thing. So
Yeah, but is this like the equivalent to the white people in the United States who are like, oh, we need to bring back ancient Native American wisdom, and they just sort of start doing ayahuasca ceremonies that they have no business doing? And
I think it's probably a tad more authentic than that, because these people are probably the descendants of those cultures.
Sure.
But
They can still be posers.
Well, it's like a post-Soviet Central Asian New Age, right? Where they're
right,
because it is kind of there's some music online that actually is kind of really cool. That is part of the new Tengri movement, with a bunch of Mongolian chanting and stuff. But it does seem a little bit posy.
When they start to do the didgeridoos, that's when you know that it's gone full poser.
Or what's that?
Exactly.
What's the rain thing?
A rain stick.
The rain stick.
Sure.
Yeah, totally.
The rain stick. That would be beautiful, wouldn't it?
So, by the way, everybody, look to start seeing Mongolian drum circles in a park near you coming up anytime soon.
Watch out for Gok Tengri. So he's dead. Let's put him back in the ground and bid farewell.
Adieu.
Adieu. All right.
Moving on. Uncle Mark,
I am here.
I'm feeling kind of sinny.
Are you feeling sinny?
I want to get out and do some sin.
Sure.
But I can't. I'll get in trouble.
Well, hold on. There's a workaround.
What?
Yeah, there's a policy for that.
Oh, whoa.
And
I think you're going to introduce us to something.
If you'll indulge me, I'll tell you all about it.
Please do.
We started a new segment a few shows back. I don't remember when, called "Coming to Terms," and there are certain terms in the religious world that oftentimes they don't necessarily mean what those words mean in the rest of the world. So, or they have their own particular little spin on it. So,
sure.
This week, we take a look at an old familiar word and see that it has a stupid religious connotation, because of course it does. And today's term with which we must learn to come is indulgence. So, what is an indulgence? It's basically the idea that forgiveness for and absolution from sin can be bought. So,
right.
Let me give you what the Catholics call an indulgence, and try to stay awake. According to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, an indulgence is a remission before God of the temporal punishment due to sins whose guilt has already been forgiven, which the faithful Christian who is duly disposed gains under certain prescribed conditions the action of the Church, which, as the minister of redemption, dispenses and applies with authority the treasury of the satisfactions of Christ in the... Anyway, that's a bunch of bullshit. Here's a much simpler way to look at it.
Thank God.
As defined by the Swiss theologian and historian Philip Schaff, he says it is the remission of the temporal, not the eternal punishment of, not of sin itself, on condition of penitence and the payment of money to the church or to some charitable object. Now, Uncle Dan, what do you think was the suspect part of that Swiss guy's definition there?
I mean, it all sounds pretty legit, but that whole that whole payment of money thing might be a sticking point to somebody.
Yeah. So, if you create an illness, it might also be really important that you create the remedy. And that way you get the whole cash cycle tied up right there, right? So the idea of paying an indulgence goes back to the Roman era, and then it was known as remissio tributi and abolito, meaning an amnesty or pardon granted by the emperor during special occasions. So the emperor, pagan Roman emperor might grant, on Saturnalia or something, that everybody who's done this can be, released from their guilt for it for a few pieces of silver, something like that.
Nice.
And then it was came into favor in the Christian world with the bishops who attended the Council of I don't have any idea how to say this. It's got so many vowels. Epoene, held in 517 AD in the Kingdom of Burgundy. That later expanded the idea of indulgence with an edict that shortened or lightened the penance for apostates. In 668 AD, Archbishop Theodore of Canterbury, yes, that Archbishop Theodore of Canterbury, authorized the monetary payment to him and the church in lieu of penance and absolution. So this marked the first instance that English Christians offered monetary compensation for the remission of their sins.
Sweet.
Then this kind of caught on, and the money the church received from all the European Christians was then sent to Rome, and the sale of indulgences increased pretty radically during the chaotic years of the Crusades, which is a whole nother segment we need to do because those were good times.
There's a lot of fun to be had.
Oh, tons of fun for everybody. Indulgences became a regular source of income for the church. And in fact, one of the other ways an indulgence could be bought, so we're on the subject of the Crusades, if you didn't have the kind of cash that put a twinkle in a cardinal's eye, was to be sent as a conscript on a crusade to kill or be killed for what turned out to be no good reason at all in Palestine. So if you didn't have the money, you could offer your service as a guy carrying a spear. And probably not make it back.
That's the way to go. I mean, frankly, you're probably, you go out there as a soldier, you're going to be fed. You're going to have some buddies out there. So depending on how big your sin is, could be worth it. I'm just saying.
Could be worth it. So they sprung up soon a class of professional pardoners called questores in Latin, just because I like the word and actually could say it. So these guys were sent out to collect money for like a specific project, right? So if you're building a cathedral or building a wall around a city or whatever, these guys would go out and they would practice the unrestricted sale of indulgences and promised rewards like salvation from eternal damnation in return for money. With the permission of the church, indulgences also became a way for Catholic rulers to fund expensive projects, as mentioned above, such as the Crusades and cathedrals. And at this point, they weren't sending it all to Rome. They were keeping a significant portion of the money raised from indulgences under their direct control and fudging the books. This next part is kind of hilarious because it says there was a tendency to forge documents declaring that indulgences had been granted. And I like the idea that there's legitimate documents that you get time off in purgatory versus forgeries. So that's kind of fun.
I mean, if you've got the legit shit, you're good for forever. But I mean, at least if you got the fake one, you're at least okay. Like you're not going to get arrested or whatever. So
yeah, if you got the off-brand one, at least it's something, right? So they grew to such an extraordinary magnitude in terms of longevity and breadth of forgiveness that the Fourth Lateran Council was convened in 1215 to suppress some of these abuses, spelling out, for example, that only a 1-year indulgence. So what that means is, buying 1 year out of purgatory would be granted for the consecration of churches and no more than 40 days, again, that's time off your sentence in purgatory, indulgence for other occasions. The council also
this isn't full forgiveness. This is like time off for good behavior.
Right, because remember in the Catholic belief system, certainly in the medieval or pre-medieval Catholic belief system, purgatory, it's pre-hell. Or it's hell light. It's not pre-hell. If you're going to hell, you just go to hell. But if you're going to go to heaven, almost everybody makes a stop in purgatory. It's just a question of length.
Okay.
Right? So, you have to go get those sins burned off. Whatever sins you had, even if you were a very pious person, you're going to spend some time in purgatory, right?
Sure.
So the council also stated that Catholics who have girded themselves with the cross for the extermination of the heretics shall enjoy the indulgences and privileges granted to those who go in defense of the Holy Land. And that is a reference to the Poors who had to go get stabbed in the liver in the desert so Jesus could live in Jerusalem again, like I mentioned above.
Sure.
So that basically saying if you were killing heretics domestically, at home in France or Belgium or wherever you were, you'd get the same indulgences as a crusader if you could prove your acts.
Wow.
So
it's a good deal.
So then the forgery business really took off. The false indulgence document business really took off.
Sure.
And for indulgences for hundreds or even thousands of years. I saw one that gave somebody 45,000 years off his sentence. So I don't know what the fuck he did. 45.
I just want to know, was there a known sort of calculus for how long each sin got you in purgatory?
Right, a price by the pound kind of thing.
Yeah, it seems like there would have to be. Otherwise, you don't know how much 40 days off is good for.
Yeah, I think there was probably whatever the guy selling the indulgence thought he could get away with is how much it cost for a year off. And so so that guy got 45,000 years, whoever. It didn't say his name off his sentence, but he was clearly a bad dude.
Right.
In 1392, more than a century before Martin Luther published his 95 Theses, that's with a TH, Pope Boniface IX, who was awesome, wrote to the Bishop of Ferrara, which is a good word to say, condemning the practice of certain members of religious orders who falsely claimed that they were authorized by the Pope to forgive all sorts of sins and obtained money from the simple-minded faithfuls by promising them perpetual happiness in this world and eternal glory in the next. Which brings me to the most awesome part of this story. There is a thing at Rouen Cathedral in France called the Butter Tower. Okay?
I'm listening.
The Butter Tower earned its nickname because the money to build it was raised by the sale of indulgences, allowing the use of butter during Lent.
Okay.
Just for that wee tiny sin, that there was enough money to build this thing. So I Googled it, and you can Google this thing. The Butter Tower, I was thinking, it's a little spire on the back end of some little parish church in the country. And Jesus Christ, it's fucking huge. It's like if Notre Dame Cathedral was built in Gotham City. It's a 15-story Gothic monster. So, how much money was there in selling forgiveness to peasants scared shitless about hellfire? A lot.
A lot.
This fucking thing was built with money not from nervous, rapists and murderers and cheats or whatever, but with money from people who ate butter during Lent.
Well, let me tell you something. I've been to France many times. I enjoy the French, but their cuisine is heavily butter dependent.
Right.
So it makes sense to me that, they would have nothing to eat if they couldn't have the butter.
Their cuisine is so butter dependent that the guilt about it can build a 15-story Gothic cathedral tower. So one particular top salesman of these afterlife insurance policies for frightened souls was a guy named Jonathan Tetzel in the early 1500s. And this little ditty is attributed to him. This guy had mad rhyming skills, so get ready for me to lay down what's about to happen. Oh, and I quote, "As soon as money in the coffer rings, the soul from purgatory's fire springs."
Oh,
how about that? Yeah,
nice. I should have dropped a fat beat for you on that one.
Yeah, it would be amazing. So, if you consider that Tetzel was working directly under Pope Leo X, who was at the time trying to rebuild St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, you get the importance of the work he was doing. So it turns out that the Protestant reformers were pretty furious about the selling of indulgences. They thought they were as much bullshit as we do, but probably with a slightly, from a slightly different angle. So first, Jan Hus, who was the Bohemian Reformation, the head guy in the Bohemian Reformation in 1412. Then more famously, Martin Luther, who, as we know, had a passion for decorating church doors, made his disdain for the practice clear in his 95 Theses in 1517. These objections to this spiritual graft and corruption set off the Protestant Reformation and all the good times for all involved that followed that. So, despite the displeasure of Martin Luther and his friends, selling forgiveness was a fine business for the hysterical virgins of the Catholic hierarchy. During the conquest of the Americas, the popes and other church authorities sold plenary indulgences to the conquistadors. Essentially, forgiveness for sins they would necessarily commit in the future as they raped and murdered and displaced and enslaved and stole in the Americas, for Jesus.
Wait, you're saying that those were sins?
Well, I was just going to say, one wonders why the popes even bothered with that, because of the belief at the time that the native people were not really human, so they were impossible to sin against.
Yeah, that's what I'm coming from.
Well, actually, in another synod, it turned out they decided, the Vatican did decide, and I think this was like in the 1600s, that the natives of the American continents were humans because, and again, there's money involved, because they couldn't be converted to Catholicism if they were not.
Oh,
and therefore,
right.
therefore taxed and tithed. So it was decided that the millions remained of the many more millions that were killed had to be declared human in order to squeeze more money out of them, right?
Well, not only that, but then when you know somebody's going to go out and rape and torture somebody, you can charge them for it. Like
Exactly.
if they're not humans, if they're not humans, you can't get paid for your indulgence.
That's it. So there was cash on the front end in pre-forgiveness, and then there was land and glory and gold on the back end. So forgiveness for everybody, right? So the bulk of the extermination and displacement of millions of pre-Columbian Americans had been pre-approved like a mortgage, but for genocide. So isn't that nice? So anyway, to finish up here, I tried to find a date when, or a moment when this actually stopped happening, and there doesn't seem to be one. The church claims it was never really a policy, but that's bullshit.
Right, that's very clearly not true.
Right, there's a lot of guilty butter money behind all those cathedrals, right? So, so it may still be happening. It probably is in some degree, as we know, and we've talked about before. The Vatican literally shelters wanted people. The Vatican literally shelters a criminal class. So they provide that kind of protection. Why wouldn't they take money from important people for a little wave of the hand and sprinkle of the holy water, and you're off the hook? So, what
I gotta believe that Benedict was much more into this than Francis. I feel like everybody's just waiting around for Francis to die so that they can start this shit back up again.
Oh, no doubt. But I do have to wonder that now that you bring up Francis, I wonder how many days the guy who gave him the little white Fiat got off of purgatory. Remember that?
Someone gave him a car?
Like a 1978 white little Fiat with snow tires. And and he apparently Francis drives it around the Vatican by himself.
I love it.
Yeah, his little Pope-mobile is a self-drive. So anyway, I guess what this really tells us is not only that certainly in the Catholic worldview one can buy one's way out of responsibility, but that they also think God has a price, right?
Well, I've read quite a bit of the Bible. They're probably right.
They're probably right. So there you go. That is indulgence. And if you've got the money, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, well, buy your way into heaven, everybody. Let's move on.
All right, let's move on. Uncle Dan?
Yes, sir.
I want to make some new friends.
Well, okay. I mean, I think that's great.
Can we find a way to meet some new friends?
Let's meet some friends. Now, I'm going to tell you about some things, Uncle Mark. I'm going to tell you and see if you can guess who I'm talking about.
Okay.
This is a religion started in the early 1800s.
You have to be more specific.
This is a group of people who believed that they had some new revelation that was going to guide them better than everybody else in the new time. They believed that Christ was coming soon. Anything? Anything?
Inconclusive.
Everybody, right. Okay, no. We're going to talk about the Seventh-day Adventists.
Oh, they're the guys who make those calendars at Christmas.
Yes, exactly. With the chocolate that comes out of them.
The Advent calendars. It's these guys.
Sure, maybe. I don't know about that. I can tell you some other things about them, though. We had a listener write in and request this, and I was already kind of doing it beforehand. Part of the reason that I was interested in the Seventh-day Adventists, and I talked about this a lot on a recent episode of Thank God I'm Atheist, is that it's the 25th anniversary of the big to-do in Waco, Texas, the Branch Davidians.
Yes.
And their whole, the terrorist, non-terrorist, who knows if there was terrorism, but the big blowing up of their building and burning.
The big burn. The big burn in Waco. Yep.
Anyway, so go, check out that episode of TGIA if you want some of the info on that. But
were they Adventists?
They were an offshoot of the Seventh-day Adventists. So that's an interesting thing. So that got me sort of like digging back into what these Seventh-day Adventists are like. now one of the things that I was getting at earlier is that the story feels so much like the Mormon story. It's kind of crazy.
The origin, you mean?
Yeah, the origin story.
Yeah.
It feels very, very similar. They, like the Mormons, have millions of followers worldwide, or claim to anyway.
Right.
And they're not doing as well in these United States, but they are going strong in some other parts of the world.
Really?
And their story starts out like this. Now, this is one of the most amazing origin stories, I think, ever. I love it so much, you guys. I can't even tell you.
Okay.
They were started. So it's all started with a guy named William Miller. William Miller was I believe he was an army captain at one point, among other things. But he started to be a preacher of note, and eventually, in poring over his Bible, he decided that the second coming of Jesus was at hand. It was upon us. It's coming.
Okay.
He was really fine-tooth combing the prophecies of Daniel, and got to this whole thing about he had this whole numerical process where he was going to take, if you carry the 4 and you subtract the 2, we know when the second coming is happening.
Yeah, so he was an early kind of Bible code sort of fellow,
right? He may have been one of the first. He may have been, or maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, he got a lot of people on board with this thing, and it was a big deal. He finally predicted that it was going to happen in 1844. Knew for sure that it was going to happen in 1844 in the spring. Did not happen. You will be shocked to learn.
Yeah, I would have seen it in the papers, I think.
Yeah, that it didn't happen. So then it was going to happen in the fall. Then some other dude came up with
classic
with a fall date for it.
Yeah,
which everybody loves a fall resurrection. I think it's so beautiful.
If you've bought your spring line, your spring apparel for the second coming, and then you've got to buy your fall apparel for
it is a pain in the ass.
It's a pain in the ass when Armageddon, when the book of Revelations does not come true and the seas turn to blood.
Right, exactly. So finally, we didn't have an exact date when it was springtime, but this other guy comes up with October 22nd of 1844 as the exact date, and eventually Miller gets on board. Everybody gets on board, and we're all very excited about this thing. And I think people went up to the tops of mountains. This is like hundreds or even maybe thousands of followers who are just convinced on this thing. And they wait. Maybe they pack a lunch, maybe they don't. You don't know what to do when the second coming is going to happen.
Right.
But alas, it didn't happen. Which brings us to the crowning thing about this whole thing, which is the Seventh-day Adventist movement is basically takes as its launch point what they call the Great Disappointment.
Oh, no.
Which, frankly, as a foundational thing for your religion, that doesn't strike me as great. You're not doing very well if the Great Disappointment is what launches your religious movement.
Well, it's good to know that it's something other than the name my mother uses to refer to me. So I that kind of misery loves company, so I'm glad to hear that.
Does that make Doug the lesser disappointment?
He doesn't even have a name.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's the great accident.
Yep. He is the great accident, so there you go.
Anyway, so the Great Disappointment occurs. A bunch of people meet with each other. I mean, surely you lose a whole lot of followers on that moment, but not everybody, because human beings, being what they are, they will. If you've decided that you believe something, boy howdy, do you work at keeping that belief.
Well, it's funny because this exactly the same. Not only was it founded, Jehovah's Witnesses were founded a little bit after this,
right?
But they had the same cycle of disappointments, right? They kept predicting dates and meeting on hilltops, and it failed to happen time and time again. So there's something about the American Christian psyche that sets itself up for this kind of sad disappointment,
Yeah, one wonders if it's just this, once we abandoned monarchy and decided that every man could be great, suddenly it's like, well, why shouldn't I be there for the resurrection of Jesus? Why shouldn't I be there for the great and grand happenings that are predicted?
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm as good as everybody else. Anywho,
right.
Here we go. We've been disappointed. Everybody's trying to come together and figure out what to do next. Enter one Ellen G. White. Now, I think this is awesome. There's a woman at who is pivotal to the Seventh-day Adventist movement. She is one of the most important people in Seventh-day Adventist history and doctrine.
Now I've heard everything. I've heard everything. A woman.
A lady.
And in charge of a millennial crazy person cult.
Right? It's refreshing, if nothing else. It feels nice.
Sometimes I think progress has gone too far, Dan.
All I'm saying is that crazy is not is not only for the men anymore. Because this lady, she claimed to have a vision from God. And a bunch of folks believed her. Yeah. And then she had lots of visions from God and all kinds of things.
She's post Great Disappointment.
Yes, this happens sort of in the aftermath of the Great Disappointment. She shows up and has a whole bunch of visions from God.
Right.
And, she is going to tell us how all of this works, how it all fits together. And by 1863... they're having their first general conference of the Seventh-day Adventists.
So they brought her in to fix the script.
She was a fixer.
Script doc. Yep.
And she did a great job. Including naming the group. The reason they're called the Seventh-day Adventists is that one of her visions was about the seventh day of the Christian week, Saturday, being the Sabbath. And that's... boy, is that a big fucking deal.
Okay.
They make so much fucking hay about all of these fake-ass Christians worshiping on Sunday like idiots because their day is the right day.
It's a day sooner.
Right. They get all of their worshiping in one day beforehand. Sunday, they're golden to mow the lawn.
They were the first podcast patrons, right? They got it a day before everybody else.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
But at what price? At what cost, Dan?
Well, indeed. Well, you have to give up your Saturday, which, can you imagine?
No, I can't.
People work until Friday and then fucking having to go to church on Saturday.
Boo.
So they, very much like the Mormons, they start to take off. They get some good stuff going. They start to do missionary work all over the world, which seems to be a very good key to, if you want your group to do well, go and trick some credulous savages.
Cast a wide net. A wide net. Yeah,
it's true. So there we are. Her gift of prophecy, this Ellen White, her gift of prophecy is the foundational thing that happens. They believe very deeply in what she had to say and write, and they take her word as the authoritative source of truth.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that so what do they believe? They've got a few, you got all your Christian basics, of course, your Jesus, your Bible, your whatnot.
Right.
Your various and sundry, completely, inexplicably unbelievable stories.
Yes, as we've explored thoroughly.
Right, and we'll continue to do so.
Yes.
They believe, so they do have some interesting views on the resurrection. They got their own whole thing with the resurrection, which involve things like For instance, when we all die, we don't go to some purgatory or whatever. We are unconscious in the ground.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're
asleep in the coffin.
Yeah, we're dead, and there is no consciousness. And then if we are deemed worthy of resurrection, which, by the way, they got a whole business for that. We'll get to that next. If we are deemed worthy, then you get woke up and you get dragged to heaven. Okay. If you're not deemed worthy, you don't go to hell. You just never are conscious again. You're just gone.
Yeah, that's a little bit like the Jehovah's Witnesses again.
Is it?
It's a little bit like that. Like there isn't really a hell. There's just nothing. Right. You just never are made conscious and go to glory.
Which there you go. Like the transition from that to atheist should be pretty nice.
And I'll bet there's a bunch of that going on.
Right. Yeah. There you go. You
want to make good atheists? Raise religious children.
Well, yeah, indeed. So here we go. The way that it's determined that whether you get your consciousness back or you just remain forever not conscious is through a thing that they call investigative judgment. Now this is an interesting little doctrine, and it conveniently helps out with the whole "why didn't Jesus come back in 1844" thing. Well, here's what Jesus did in 1844. A thing happened. A thing happened for sure. But it wasn't, he just didn't come back to Earth. He switched chairs. And that's pretty important. He moved to a different part of heaven. I'm not sure what this looks like, but he moved to a different part of heaven, thereby signaling the great judgment. Now, what that means is that right now, starting in 1844 and continuing to this day, what's been happening in heaven is that they have gotten to work. They are busy. They've got clerks. To me, it resembles Gringotts. It's the Harry Potter, all of the little elves or whatever they are, the goblins who are scribbling away in the bank there in Harry Potter. Anyway, it's a bunch of clerk work. Everyone that has ever lived, they're now going over the book of their lives, and they literally apparently have to read it.
It's an audit.
It is an audit. You are being audited. They're probably not to us yet. We don't know how long this thing is going to take, but they have to go through every single person's life and determine their commitment to Jesus. Now, that sounds great, except that you got to realize that they're starting well before Jesus' time on earth. So those guys, maybe their commitment to Jesus, not so great.
The billions of people that lived innocently pre-Jesus.
Right.
It's true, in a lot of religions, they have to pay the price for their inability to have received the word of Christ.
For the audacity of having been born pre-Jesus. Now, I think the workaround, and I've read about this, but it's a little hazy to me, as are so many doctrines in the world. I believe that the workaround is to do with your works in life show your commitment to Jesus. So people who are really good in life, apparently that's their commitment to Christ somehow. Anywho, if that's the case, it does raise the question of why do we need to say, just see who's good and who's not and leave Jesus out of it?
Right.
But no, that's not how it works. Anyway, I'm unconvinced on that I'm 100% correct on that. I'm sure people will write into us and explicate it in detail. Not that we're going to revisit it, but that's fine. I'd be interested to read. Anywho, if you are judged worthy, then you will be part of the resurrection. If you are not, then you won't, and that's that. Eventually, what will happen is that the audits will catch up to the living. They're starting at the very first people and moving their way forward through time.
I know what's coming. When the last audit of the living is committed, boom.
Something like that.
Second coming.
Or as soon as it catches up to the living, Then Jesus comes to earth, and the audits of the living happen, and whatever. I don't know. So, yes, the second coming will occur at that moment. We don't know how long that'll take, but once they're done auditing, then the second coming happens. And all of the righteous Christians who have previously died will be resurrected at that time and taken away. And then there will be 1,000 years where Satan and his fallen angels just get earth.
Right.
So the millennium for them is just Satan and his buddies partying here on earth. At which point...
Yeah, the tribulation.
No, it doesn't say... Because remember that everybody is either resurrected or just dead. So there's no problem.
Nobody's here.
Nobody's here. It's just weird. Satan and his buddies have a party for 1,000 years. And after that, a second resurrection occurs, and then it's done.
All funny. Also very similar to the J-Dubs in a way. But then I like to go back to the now we're catching up to the audits of the living, and then Jesus is going to come. And I just had this image of Jesus sitting in a boardroom with like all these charts and graphs and people doing, the annual report. And he's just looking at his watch like, ugh, this is taking forever. Then he winks at the camera. Dumb. So it's all about
wink at the camera.
It's all about paperwork. It's all about audits. This is a heaven I really feel great about.
Yes, everyone wears a tie in heaven.
Yeah,
I feel like that's
sweet.
I feel like that's definitely a thing. They're all
wonderful
in polyester suits and ties.
Wonderful.
And also, by the way, just as a PS, after Satan leaves, Satan and his friends finish their 1,000-year party. They are destroyed, and which if you know when your life is going to be over, when you are going to be destroyed, have a good 1,000-year party. Make sure that it's awesome.
Pack it all in,
and then
just make a bucket list and check the boxes.
Oh yeah, get a zip line going, do some stuff. I don't know. Then after that, the righteous then return to a cleansed earth. And they establish a new Jerusalem, and I guess just live happily ever after on earth.
Great. That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's a thing. Now, Adventists are very huge on the whole human body is the temple of God.
Okay.
And so a lot of them are they don't do the drugs and alcohol or the tobacco. Many of them are I think they're vegetarians.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
So there's that. That's also.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like these 19th century created religions loved. I mean, they were founded right at the same time that that Kellogg, crazy fucking Kellogg, was doing all of his healthy body stuff, and Sylvester Graham was doing his healthy body stuff, and they all just had these insane notions that it was vitally important that you get colonic cleanses every so often, and that you only eat grains.
It's really interesting because that's the JWs have similar things. The Mormons obviously have similar things, and they all spring from kind of roughly the same time and place, right? Yeah. So it'd be interesting to really examine what was going on in 19th century America as far as, there medicine was advancing, but it probably wasn't very available.
Right.
So or you couldn't afford it. Yeah. It's so different now, obviously. We've solved all those problems.
It's fixed.
It's all fixed. But what was the need going on in the American body politic or the American public that force these religions to kind of take this particular bent? It's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I just think there was something in the water.
It was a crazy time.
Yeah. They're still going strong, these Adventists. They're out there. They're doing their thing. Again, like I said, not super popular in the U.S. right now.
Right.
They were kind of pretty hip to the race thing early on, so there's a lot of black Seventh-day Adventists in the U.S.
Yeah.
They could be considered at least somewhat progressive on the girl thing.
Really? Oh, because of their female prophet?
Yeah, I mean, I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
So there you go. I believe now, I think our country's most prominent current Seventh-day Adventist is probably sleepy old Ben Carson.
Right. He's a Seventh-day Adventist, so he doesn't work Saturdays.
Well, I guess. I mean, does he work at all? What's been happening with the Housing and Urban Development Department for a while?
Well, he just said that after ordering, what was it, $30,000 in office furniture or a dining room table for his office, that he's going to triple the rent of everybody living in government-assisted housing in the United States. So
he's been doing his job.
Oh yeah, that's Christian charity at its finest there for you folks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you go. There they are. They're adventing as we speak. The seventh day thing is accounted for. They've figured that out. The whole Advent thing, which is the second coming of Christ, still pending.
So are they? Yeah, I was going to say, do they have a date certain set again, or is it they've just kind of left that a little loosey goosey?
I feel like they've learned their lesson on that one. They're good.
Their date is described as soon.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
All right. Well, great to meet you, Seventh-day Adventists. Enjoy your Saturday.
Yeah, indeed. Let's move on.
All right. Let's move on. Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you guys. Send us an email, howto@howtoheretic.com.
That's right. Or if you want to ruin our Saturdays as well as everybody else's, you can leave us a voicemail at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. And you can also yell at me on Twitter at HowToHeretic.
Hey, thanks so much to the patrons that we didn't actually thank this week and the ones that we will be thanking next week. If you want to be one, go to howtoheretic.com and click on that patron button.
That's right. And remember, forgiveness doesn't come free. And we'd like to thank Cody Layton for editing the show.
And thank all of you friends for tuning in. We sure appreciate you.
We absolutely do. Bye-bye.